we're talking on a week after Liverpool have got 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League table, on a week where Liverpool play at home to Real Madrid and Man City, two of the biggest, arguably the two biggest games of the season, certainly up to this point. But we have to start with Mo Salah and sort of off-field comments, and I think therein lies a bit of the problem. This is Liverpool's biggest week of the season, and the main talking point, all the talk around Liverpool at the moment, is Salah and his comments about his contract. In case you haven't seen it, he said he hasn't received any offers yet. He's more out than in of the club at the moment, which really was the headline grabber. And also that he's disappointed in the club and that he hasn't received a contract offer. I mean, David, he's so clearly desperate to stay at the club, isn't he? Which is good news for all fans. You know, there was comments within those quotes that didn't make as many headlines, but reinforced the belief and the knowledge that he is desperate to stay at Liverpool. But it seemed like a bit of a Hail Mary from him. He's spoken to the TV media early in the season. He's done social media. Now he's gone to the written media and sort of quite in a calculated way planted these quotes that have come up. And they've taken a bit of the emphasis away from the Southampton win and the upcoming week. Carragher was pretty critical on Monday Night Football about that, calling him selfish, Mo Salah. I definitely would have preferred them, if he's going to say them, to come after firing us to wins over Real Madrid and Man City rather than before those games. But these comments, won't they? They'll naturally direct anger at the club, because people will see that he hasn't received an offer, and a lot of people are translating that into there hasn't been talks, that Liverpool haven't been doing anything in this time. So I think, could you first sum up where the situation is? Because there have been talks with the agent, we know that, and it's okay, maybe a formal offer hasn't arrived, but Liverpool wouldn't do that if they know it's just going to be rejected. So talks are ongoing. So first, if you could sum up sort of where the situation is, and then give your views on those sort of bombshell Salah quotes.
Yeah, so I guess the main takeaway is that in reality, as much as these have created huge waves, there's actually nothing really that newsy in the comments, in terms of that wasn't a kind of honest appraisal of where contract talks are up to. So many, as you say, have seized on the idea that he said, you know, that there's been no offer, but that is not a surprise at all. As you say, the offer would only come at a point at which, you know, the two parties are broadly in line in terms of what they want. And the whole point of talks is to get to that point. And we know for a fact, and I know for a fact, they are in talks at the moment and they are ongoing. You know, there's no negativity or negative feeling coming from the parties involved in that, as far as I'm aware. Those talks are ongoing. But clearly, I think Salah is a little bit frustrated with maybe the pace of those talks and wants to get things sorted. He wants to move Liverpool on. And by putting pressure on them externally, I think that's one way of doing it, isn't it? Is getting the fans to kind of back him. And we've absolutely seen exactly the same with his TV interviews, same with social media posts. And it's happened again, is the fans have kind of rallied behind him. And it's certainly in the online sphere, there's sort of a wave of opinion now that Liverpool and FSG need to pull the fingers out and sort this. But as I say, it doesn't really give us an insight into where things are up to. It's currently just talks are ongoing. And you know, the key thing to say here as well is that Liverpool aren't talking about this. They're not even briefing about this. That there's nothing coming from their side. So what we are getting is kind of Mo Salah's take on these things. And we're only being shown a very small part of that as well. You know, it'd be interesting to say, you know, if Salah actually came out and said, okay, well, I'm asking for $1 million a week over 10 years, you know, you would almost sympathise with Liverpool's position then. Obviously, he's not asking for that. But it's clear there's probably, you know, the fact that the talks haven't been resolved, there's clearly maybe a little bit of distance between what the two parties want, and they have to meet in the middle there. But I think that's normal in all contract talks, by the way. And it was normal, and it was something that happened the last time Mo Salah renewed his contract. He came out and did a similar interview, really, and said it's in their hands. And in the end, compromise came from both sides. And I think, yet again, that's going to be something that has to happen. You know, Mo Salah, as you say, clearly desperate to stay. So some willingness to compromise there. And Liverpool will know that they can't replace him. They can't replace him for next season at the very minimum. So there will be room for compromise there. But it's just about getting there. And obviously Salah is frustrated and has let that out. And maybe it will push FSG a little bit. And I say FSG, the decision lies in the hands of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. Ultimately, they are empowered to do that. But maybe that will push them on a bit. That little bit of pressure that they put on, but that was certainly Salah's aim anyway. And you know, we're still as it was, as you were really, in terms of you just hope that the two parties can come to some agreement, and they will continue to butt heads until that happens. And the one thing I would say in terms of the timing and his decision to speak to the media, I see that Jamie Carragher has received a bit of criticism around that for describing it as selfish. But I mean, if you break it down to the basics of it, it really is quite a selfish act. I mean, he's not coming out to say this for the benefit of Liverpool Football Club. It doesn't help them coming into this week, this huge week they've got. It doesn't help them in the title race. It doesn't help anything really. It's purely because he wants to stay and he wants to get that out there. But I don't begrudge him that. But I think we do have to acknowledge it is a selfish act. But that's many people will agree that will feel that he deserves that selfish act because of what he's given to Liverpool, and maybe that's a fair point of view as well.
Yeah, I think that we need to be careful about some of the fans becoming too sort of Salah versus club and either being in one camp or the other. I think, as you say, it's not good timing from Salah to do this. It's very deliberate timing from Salah to do this. And you can think that and also be desperate to see Salah stay, because
exactly.
That's the sort of position I'm in. I'm desperate to see Salah stay each passing week. I mean, we've talked about it pretty much each week because he keeps scoring and keeps strengthening his own claim. Quite a few weeks ago, I think we both put him sort of as lowest priority of the three. Not to say he's a low priority at all, but lowest priority of the three of Van Dijk and Trent. For me, I think he's probably climbed that list because he's proven over and over again just how important he is to Liverpool. But yeah, desperate to see him stay, but you've got to question the timing. It is a selfish move. As I say, if he'd done it after scoring against Man City, or maybe not even scoring, but after Liverpool go and beat Man City, that's fine, but don't do it in the build up to this week. And also, I don't think, and Salah's not to know this because he didn't see the headlines and stuff before these quotes came out. The quotes came out yesterday, and obviously did the quotes, the interview on the Sunday after the game. And it's rare for him to stop in the mix zone, but he did that on purpose. But then the whole national attention, even before these quotes came out, I had noted in my notes for these calls that, mentioned that this feels like the breaking point. This feels like the time where the clamour for him to sign on, or for Liverpool to come to terms with him, had grown to deafening levels. It was sort of the headline on every news outlet, on everything, that Liverpool just need to make this happen. And that was purely based on his performance, not on his quotes at all. And then the quotes come out, and obviously that grows and grows and grows. So for me, I don't know if the comments were really needed because that clamour was already going. And I think his best case is not coming through quotes and media. It's coming through his performances.
Well, this is it. And as you say, it was on the back page of every paper after the Southampton game directly that, you can't let this guy go. He scored 2 goals and a 3-2 win over Southampton. What is it? 10 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League so far this season. He's making the case. And I think, creating a bit of a kind of civil war amongst some fans, because there's been arguments. You see a bit of that, and the fans sort of creating a negative atmosphere and turning them against the club as a whole. It's just unnecessary because the case is there. And as I say, Liverpool will already feel anyway that they can't afford to let him go. There's no chance they can, because, good luck to them trying to find a guy who's going to get these sort of numbers for next season. They've just got absolutely no chance. So, they will already feel that pressure, and they can't counter these arguments. They won't brief against him. They won't, provide any update on contract talks at the moment. And the fact is, look, if he's getting frustrated or whatever, go in and tell FSG. You've got a direct line to them. You go and tell Richard Hughes through your agent. That's absolutely the way to go about it. And hope for that agreement they can get there, because it's just it's just unnecessary. And it did happen last time, and they did reach an agreement in the end. So it shows you that it's not completely out of being a salvageable situation. So hopefully we can move on quickly from this, because at least, well, it's a bad timing for it. There's the big distraction coming up, and this will be relegated down the kind of news order, really, won't it, if Liverpool get wins against Real Madrid and Manchester City. So that is maybe the upside of it in terms of the timing.
Yeah, just to reiterate his importance to the team and importance to Liverpool in this season in particular, 67% of he's directly been involved in 67% of Liverpool's goals this season, which is unsurprisingly the highest in the league. I think I saw a stat that in entire Premier League history, only one player has ever been responsible for a higher proportion of goals for a team over the course of a whole season, and that was Letizia back in 93-94 for Southampton. So, he's having an historically good season, his best season for Liverpool, even outstripping his debut season in terms of goal involvements per 90. Incredible start to the season he's had, and even his celebrations feel a bit pointed and ripping his shirt off to prove, okay, I'm this age, but I'm still in this good shape, better shape than ever, don't they? So he does seem to be very calculated, as calculated with his sort of off-field stuff as he does the on-field stuff. I mean, if I was to put you on the spot now and say, do you think it will get done? What would you say?
I would say yes, because like I say, I just don't see how Liverpool can, kind of find a world where they can replace him for next season. So you immediately know you're dropping off. I mean, I have seen a lot of talk of kind of, this is where Liverpool would be in the Premier League if Salah's goals were taken away, and you got to take those with a pinch of salt, just on the basis that I'm sure they would field 11 in the event that Salah were to leave. I don't think they'd go with 10 men, but still, replacing someone who's that influential is just too big an ask for a club as well who constantly say, and we are often told this, that it's very, very difficult to find players who are good enough to play at this level and truly improve the team. So, trying to find someone at that level, I can't really see how they managed to do that for next season. So, and they've also got all those kind of little kind of get outs in terms of, I think, the Saudi interest being there is very, very helpful to them. That will probably be there 2 years down the line if things start to kind of go south. And Salah's not one as well who's kind of, he's going to ask for a contract that is out of reach for Liverpool. I think that, they did get there last time. He probably could have got more money elsewhere. So I'm sure his demands, they can get to a stage where it is reasonable and they can find that agreement. And as I say, I think from Liverpool's side, they won't want to let him go. Clear desperation on his side to stay. So that for me is the ingredients for him ultimately staying put. But at the moment, we're still a way off that.
Yeah, I mean, time is running out, though, isn't it? We've spoken about how we've both got trust in this hierarchy. They've earned that trust over time to do the right things, but it doesn't help the sort of fans' nerves when you're getting into sort of December. And obviously, I don't think anyone is under the illusion that January 1st is the date that foreign clubs will first get in contact. It's the date that they can first sort of legally get in contact and make public overtures towards players. But any talks like that would have been going on. The players will know of any interest from abroad long before January 1st, but it does still feel like a bit of a deadline to get these contracts done, because once you enter that final 6 months, then speculation really does ramp up. So it does feel, not just for Salah, obviously, but for Van Dijk and Trent as well. And maybe we'll get a couple of announcements in quick succession once they do happen. I wouldn't be too surprised to see that happen, but it does feel like time is running out a little bit, and it's getting a bit more nervous than sort of it was a couple of months ago, now that we're down to almost the final month.
Yeah, I'm less kind of bound by that January deadline, I guess, on the basis, as you say, I mean, the clubs, if they wanted them, would probably be there anyway, whispering in their ear at this point and telling them what they were going to give them and what the plans are for them. So, and I think with Salah, if that is happening, it clearly hasn't swayed him anyway. He really wants to stay. And similarly with Van Dijk, certainly with what they've said publicly about this situation. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be tempted. So I don't think Liverpool will necessarily be feeling the pressure of that deadline, but it does kind of feel significant just as a milestone for them to get within 6 months. He's so close to the end of that deal, and it just adds that extra layer of kind of nervousness around it, I guess, from the supporters' perspective. So, yeah, the fact is, and this has always been the case, the sooner they're wrapped up, the better. And just to even get one over the line now would feel hugely significant. It would feel like things are moving in the right direction. It's just the fact that all three of them are sat there. I mean, if they wrap the other two up and then you only had Salah left, and that got a little bit later than 6 months, for an Asian player who's your highest earner at the moment, and you're a little bit worried about decline, you'd understand that might take time and it might take a little bit longer. But it's because the other two, which seem a little more straightforward, are kind of still sat there, not sorted. It just adds this pressure and it kind of builds together. So just need some news on this soon, and hopefully we get that, and maybe that January just does serve as a little bit of a milestone that they're looking at, and whether it's pressure from external forces or not, just hopefully we can hear something on one of them at least before then.
Yeah, I mean, just a final word on Salah from me in terms of another interesting part of his quotes was he said he's not going to retire anytime soon, which I don't know. I think Saudi would feel like the first steps towards retirement for him. I think he wants to keep on playing at the top level, and there's not been that many top level clubs really being linked with him. I know Barca have tried to snap up free agents when they can, and obviously not many free agents come as good as Mo Salah, so maybe they'd be in the mix, but obviously they've got their own deep financial issues, so big wages aren't something they'd be able to afford necessarily. Bayern, I don't know if he fits their profile of player when he's, as you say, getting on or the wrong side of 30, even though I think he's got a few more years left in him. PSG are moving away from that model. Real Madrid is way too stocked in those areas anyway, so it's interesting that it seems to have been Saudi or nothing, and I don't think he wants to go to Saudi at this stage.
No, and I think that was a significant factor last summer, was it, when there was that Saudi interest there and the bid was being put in, that if the player really wanted the move and had forced it, then Liverpool would have struggled to keep hold of him. But he clearly wasn't ready then, and he doesn't seem like he's ready now. That's why I think the best scenario for everyone really is he signs another 2 or maybe a 3-year contract with a bit of a get out in it in some sense, and then goes to Saudi after that. I think that is kind of the way it would work best for everyone, is that Liverpool get those final best years out of him, and then he does go to Saudi where he can earn insane amounts of money and be that Arab icon that he is, and be he'd be the absolute star of the league over there, wouldn't he? So that to me seems the best scenario. And I also know from Salah's side of things, from his camp, is that their ideal scenario is that he does leave Liverpool eventually on a free transfer, in terms of that will not then impact what he gets in his next contract. They don't want to be leaving a year early. So, I guess that probably adds in a difficulty around the length of this contract, in terms of, is that 3 or is it 2, and what Liverpool are willing to go to. So maybe that's one of the sticking points. But I think that's the scenario that both Liverpool and Salah would see as ideal, is that he signs his contract, sees it out, and then maybe goes to Saudi after that. But like I say, the timing of that and what the length of that contract is, maybe that's the kind of key sticking point for them all.
Yeah, that's interesting actually, because we had thought tie him down, and then if he's dropping off after 2 years, you could still sell him for some to Saudi. But yeah, maybe that's not an option that Salah's team are willing to consider. So yeah, interesting insight there.